On a recent early morning show, Bishop T.D. Jakes mentioned the importance that art plays for public schools and for inner city youths to pursue higher education, particularly the STEMs. Well, this begs an interesting question. What role and what value do we give to these programs, art and music? Well, we know it already matters. Science, technology, engineering, math, rote memorization to pass those SATs. But for the kids that go to public school, what kind of education do we want them to have? We want innovative thinkers. We want creative problem solvers. These are the characteristics that are really fostered in these programs. But whenever these public institutions face a budget crisis, the first one's cut. Hello, everyone. My name is James Torres. And I'd like to share with you how one of these programs helps someone in the most unlikely situations, a maximum facility prison. It's 2006. I'm in Rikers Island. I'm in the Beacon building, solitary confinement, also known as the box. For those who don't know, the box is 23 hours locked in a cell so small you could touch both sides without even really trying, with no access to TV, phone, or radio. Books and magazines become your only means of mental escape. We had a library cart that came about as frequently as a full solar eclipse. So when you're able to get what you get, you read what you got, again and again and again. Now I was fortunate. When the cart happened to come by on a few occasions, I saw a couple of guitar player magazines, Guitar World, and prior to my incarceration, I had an interest in learning how to play. Nothing serious, but when I saw those magazines, I snatched them up. So I'm reading the artist interviews, I'm reading the album reviews, I'm obsessing over the gear. I'm also ignoring the lesson pages. Truth to be told, I didn't see the point. I didn't have a guitar in my cell. I'm in the box. But truthfully, I couldn't understand it if I really wanted to. Now, they say necessity is the mother of invention. It's also a pretty damn good coach for determination. After reading the same articles over and over again, I was determined to glean something new from these magazines, if only for the sole purpose of alleviating my boredom. So I'm looking at the lesson page now. No fooling, I got nothing better to do, so I'm looking at this thing for probably about an hour. The staff lines look like math to me. Hell, at the time, I didn't even call them staff lines. So I'm looking at it. You know, there's 5 of them. Then a memory starts poking at me. A memory of my 4th grade class. It's a memory of sitting in a semicircle with those plastic recorder flutes and the teacher writing something on the chalkboard. Every good boy does fine. Every good boy does fine. That's 5 words. That's 5 lines. Okay, I'm going to run with this. All right. Every good boy does fine. That's E, that's G, that's B. It's kind of like an alphabet, right? But if that's an alphabet, then there has to be, like, as E comes what? F and G, and so... Wait, she wrote something else on the board. I remember this. Face, right. F-A-C-E, every good boy to F-A-C... I think I could read music. I read every single lesson plan after that. I was no longer reading for entertainment. I was studying. I went into the box a knucklehead. I came out burgeoning musician. Let's fast forward to 2010. Been in state prison now for about 3 years. When I first came, all I had was a 25-year sentence and the state greens they give everyone when they first come in. But I could read music. Now, prison's like any other place you would imagine in that people gravitate to groups that are familiar, accepting, or accommodating. So you can imagine my surprise when I kept finding individuals and groups that were musicians. These groups became my community of peers and mentors. My peers showed me that I could be a musician in prison. And they told me, listen, your hands, tools of the trade, got to keep them safe. Which was a polite way of saying, stop getting into fights. My mentors showed me how appreciative a captive audience will be when you do a good job and how brutally honest they'll be if you don't. They also impressed upon me that a lot of the guys in the audience they're never going to see a real show again in the street. So when you take that stage, you exercise professionalism every single time. As the years progressed, the same group, they pushed me to more lofty endeavors. They tried to push me to the Hudson Link program they offer here at SingSing for college. At that time, I didn't want to hear that. College? I hadn't been inside of a classroom in 10 years. What do I know about college, right? But they told me, they kept at it. Listen, you study this music, you're learning these different instruments. It's the same gig, just a different audience. You know what? They were right. For example, European history, I was able to wax about how the composers helped the Renaissance. And for my class for public speaking, Professor Whitty, wherever you are, I put on a public presentation using music. He gave me A- for that one, in case you're wondering. All these experiences, like I said before, they impacted me differently. Learning how to read difficult pieces of music, it taught me a way to break things down systematically into digestible chunks to aggregate them for later. But of course, music doesn't exist in a vacuum, so I had to play with other people, which meant I had to learn how to get along with other types of people. So that was a trip, but it proved advantageous when Carnegie Hall and the executive team in Sing Sing decided to let professional musicians come in to work with us. Working with these professionals has been a privilege, particularly when we do programs for the rest of the population, and we've been doing that for the past 10 years. So remember from the outset, I asked, what value do we place on art and music programs for public school? I can only speak my personal experience. For me, a memory, a single memory, became the pivot point that redefined the rest of my incarceration. It led me to find positive groups behind prison walls, groups of individuals that decided to build me up, not tear me down. To borrow a quote from one of the former speakers, I saw me in a positive light, in a new light. It also led to new positive mile markers. I brag a little bit now. May 2019, one of my compositions was actually performed at Carnegie Hall. Thank you. Thank you. More important to me, though, the following month, I rose to the expectation of my community and got that bachelor's degree in June. I don't think those things would have happened, though, if it wasn't for that class. If it wasn't for that memory, if they would have gutted the art music programs in my time, as they have the tendency to do now. So I'm just imploring. We know what's important, STEMs, right? But please don't forget the arts. Let's turn STEM into STEAM, redefine them, because that's what matters. Now, the irony that I've been speaking about the importance of music without any musical accompaniment is not lost on me. Fortunately, we've been joined by other musicians. These are the guys I've been telling you about, a sample of them. And with their help, we're going to perform a piece for you that I wrote called Fragments of a Dream. I hope you enjoy it. Ready? Yoshi, you're off the stage.